Okay, so John, John Marty, hello.
Hello.
So I don't know how to welcome you because I'm very, very, very excited that you can be on here. You're a guy that I look up to a lot, and I
Thanks, man.
think you deliver a message that is fundamental for everybody in my audience, that is students and recent grads.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And so welcome to Now What.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate you having me.
Thank you. And so let's jump right in because we
Let's
have
do it.
some time restrictions, and I have like 2 pages of questions, and
I
so
love it. I love it. You're ready. You're ready to fire them off. That's great.
I am. All right. So the first thing, though, I want to know a little bit about your background, and I
Sure.
want to start from very early. I want to start from high school. I want to know what drive your passion. I know
Yeah.
you have a very cool story, and I want to get into that.
Okay.
So after you.
Yeah, yeah. So the I have been thinking a lot about that journey and what elements of my journey have really shaped me throughout the years. And one of the things that has definitely shaped me is when I was in middle school and I got to high school, I was really bullied a lot in middle school. And I had switched schools. And I think when I switched schools, I was the new kid in fourth grade as a little guy. And all these other students had been with each other for a couple years. So I become the new kid. And as soon as I'm the new kid, I was bullied. And, it just really does something to you psychologically when you're little, and that winds up happening to you. And even prior to fourth grade, it's like I was in this other school, and the reason why I switched schools, I'll back up to the very beginning. In my primary school education, from first grade to fourth grade, in fourth grade, I tried to sell watches. I tried to be enterprising, entrepreneurial when I was a little kid. And I told my parents, I want to sell watches. There's something about watches for me that were really interesting. And there were these, and my parents said, okay, well, fine. Let's go to like a wholesale market. There was this wholesale market down the street from our house. And they sold everything from like lawn chairs to, it was like a big Home Depot in a lot of ways, right? Fake flower arrangements. And then there was this bucket. I remember this bucket of these $5 watches. And I said, that's what I want to sell. So my parents said, okay, well, let's buy a few of them. So we bought them for $5 a piece. And I made this flyer. I had my mom help me make this flyer, and I was going to sell them for $10 a piece in my fourth grade class. And so I had little notes, because obviously the kids can't buy them, I had little notes with pictures of the watches, and I would distribute those notes out. And if you want one of these, then go tell your mom and, bring $10 and I'll give you a watch. And so I sold a bunch of watches. And what wound up happening was one student came up to me during recess or something, and he said, John, how much did you buy these watches for? And I said, well, I bought them for $5. I sold them to you for $10. And he told the principal. And the principal called a emergency all-school meeting. No joke. There was 150, 200 kids in a room with me on an elevated stage, emergency, like 2 p.m., random, classes stopped type of meeting. I'm on the stage. There's this chair facing me like I'm facing you. And they proceed in bringing up every student that had purchased a watch from me. And the principal had primed them to believe that I had wronged them. So clearly, when you're young, you're very impressionable. And so they thought I was a crook. They thought I was a thief, that I had stolen their money. That's because that's what the principal and the teachers had told them. And so here's every student coming up crying and making me apologize to them for selling them a watch. So that's my early childhood experience, which drove my initial desire to become an entrepreneur in the first place, because that shaped me in a way that it's hard to really explain. Like the kids crying on a stage in front of a whole group of my peers in 4th grade is something that burns in your brain. So anyway, my parents took me out of that school. Then, I go to this other school, 5th, 6th grade, 7th grade. And that's, an area that I start getting bullied because I'm the new kid, and being the new kid. I remember in the playground, like every day in the playground, I was so fearful because there was this one kid, Adam, who was the popular kid, and Adam would chase me down and threaten to beat me up like literally every day. And so I'd come home crying every day that I didn't want to go to school. And so I had this like visceral, these two things created this visceral hatred towards a traditional education system for me. And then, I get into high school, and it just, nothing made sense to me. I'm like, why am I here? I hate this experience. What am I doing? I'm not learning what I want to be learning. I don't even want to be learning. Like, I was just so rebellious towards the whole idea. But I mean, I just kept going through because that's what I was supposed to do, right? So, I go to college, and in high school, I did terrible. My grades were so bad. I failed out of high school in my first high school. And my senior year of high school, I wound up getting transferred to this other school. My parents transferred me to another school. It's like, you have to finish high school at least. And so senior year, I'm finally about to graduate, barely graduated from that school, like barely. And the only reason I graduated was because we literally had a 2-week snowstorm that caused the school to close, which caused me to not have to take my final exams. Otherwise, and literally the school, literally my student body was like, do you think the exams are going to be canceled? And I'm like, damn right, I know these fucking things are going to be canceled. And I didn't study for them at all because I knew that I was going to fail anyway. And I just like, I didn't want to even finish. I just hated it so much. I was like, screw this. I don't want to deal with it. But anyway, it was amazing that they said, we are not having school exams, because it was a public school and they couldn't extend the teachers. The teachers union would have been super pissed if the school days extended into the summer. So they said, whatever grades you got prior to exams, we're just going to, create that as your final grade for the class.
I love that.
I barely passed, which then, when I get to college, in the college experience, I basically couldn't get into any college. So my dad, he pulls up something on the internet and he says, John, there's this school in Colorado called Fort Lewis College. It's small. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's in the mountains. You can mountain bike every day and ski. You don't even have to, don't focus on the learning. Just ski and mountain bike. Like, just do what you want to do. Okay. So my dad says, this is the school you should go to. And so I go in, and even this school that's no-name school, which was very good, actually. It was a great school, but it's a no-name school, right? In the middle of the mountains in Colorado, there's like 3,000 or 4,000 students, right? Nobody knows this college. And it's so funny that I barely got into that school. We had to make a convincing argument because my grades were so low. But anyway, so, finally I get through college, right? And, it wasn't really until my mid-20s that I had any interest in doing anything at all. And this opportunity came up to kind of be an entrepreneur. I had this entrepreneurial class, and they said, okay, your mission in this class is to start a business. And I said, this is the first thing in 18 years that is of any interest to me whatsoever. So I said, I'm going to create a business plan for this thing. Great, let's do this. Let's do this. So other students are creating business plans to sell mugs, cups, shirts, things that are, achievable in a class period. And I said, I want to create an electronics company. And I want to do I want to sell like car audio and electronics, like a BestBuy type of a thing. And so they created this
Love
business.
that.
Yeah, I
I
created
want to
this
be Best Buy.
Yeah, man. I created this business plan, and I went to I went to a bunch of banks. My business partner, my good friend from college. We went around to different banks, and I mean, here we are, like with super long hair. Me, super long hair, like flip flops and shorts, going to the bank and going, "Hey, I need $100,000," and them going, "No, no."
No, no way are you
like
getting the 1,000.
like where the hell is your collateral? And there's no collateral, right? It's like, well, I have none, but maybe you could do this on good faith. Right. So anyway, what we did, we were so passionate about it, like we just kept not giving up. And my
Why is
family,
that we? Why is that we? You
my,
were you
my
and
business partner, my business
your business
partner.
partner, two
Yeah.
of you.
So yeah, he and I were both 21 years old at the time, and so we're juniors in college, and so we got some seed funding from family to start this thing, and it was a little 700 square foot retail business on this main street of Durango, Colorado. We literally had no product. We had a front counter. We had, I think it was less than 700 square feet. It might have been more like 500 total square feet, including the bathroom and a little storage unit in the back. So it was really tiny, man, like little, like maybe as big as my like living room here in the house. And no distributor, no company would even give us any kind of product because once again, there was no collateral. We didn't really have any money. So we just bought some things that we thought we could sell, and literally people would come to us and look at us. I think they pitied us. I think they actually pitied us. And that's why we got business, because the store was so small and we had no product. People would come in and go, "Well, what do you have to sell?" And we would go, "Well, there's this catalog." And we would literally take this catalog. I remember this catalog called DBL. DBL, it was like this thick, it's thousands of pages. And we would go, "But we can order it for you." And they would go, "Okay, order it for me." So we would literally take their money, order out of a catalog, and then get the product in a few days and sell it to them. And that's how we started. And so, fast forward a bunch of years, I had
Retail
done that.
business, so
Retail business, retail. Yeah. Nothing special, right? Nothing crazy. Installation, retail. We wound up getting to a couple $1,000,000 in sales after,
Jesus.
yeah, pretty good. 10 full-time employees, a bunch of installation vans that we owned. We moved to a 5,000 square foot location, and it was good business. We bought out one of our competitors. I actually sold my shares to my business partner because after 10 years, I was ready. I was done. And I didn't really want to be there anymore. I wanted to kind of expand my wings, but that's kind of it's the progression of things. I think a lot of people, when they see me on LinkedIn, they see me bashing school, and they don't, I'm only able to write 1,300 characters. I'm not able to write a novel. And so they often kind of bash me for some of my mental models on things. And I say, well, you don't know what wound up happening to me. And that's why I feel the way I do. That's why I took the route that I did. So.
Well, this is only half of that. So what happened after the first business?
Yeah. So after the first business, I wound up taking the money. So I had a chunk of money, and you can imagine after 10 years, I finally have some money, because really in that business, it's funny when you have a multi-million-dollar business, people think, wow, on the surface, right? But you're working 7 days a week and you are enslaved by your business. You really are, right? It's not freedom. There's this mental model that entrepreneurship is going to give you freedom. It's going to give you time. It's going to pay you a lot of money, right? There's all these things on Instagram that talk about be an entrepreneur so that you can crush it and be your own boss. And it seems very romantic, right?
Yeah, sure.
But I can tell you that it's not romantic at all. And the stories that you see online are the ones that are the 0.0001% of people who actually made a company that they didn't feel enslaved by, that gave them a payout because Google bought them, right? Like, There's not that many stories like that. And so I was part of the 99%, right, of businesses out there that feel more like mom and pops where you're working 7 days a week. But you can imagine after 10 whole years of not really making any money, all my money and all my business partners' money would go to our employees.
Mhm.
Right. So the very little that's left over, the $30,000 or $40,000 a year, that's what we pay ourselves. Right. And that's what nobody really sees on the surface. So it's not that glamorous. And so I take this money that I have and, from selling it. And it's the first time anything is in my bank account. And I go, wow, okay. I feel like so empowered with this money. I'm going to take it and I'm going to dump it into another startup. I go and I dump it into this company called EOS Controls. And EOS Controls is a smart home technology company. So what I was doing is I went to China, I sourced some products to create a home automation company. And this is before Google Home. This is before Alexa. I have to say Alexa quietly because I don't want her to turn on. But this is before all these smart home technology companies really hit the market. What we had back in 2012 was these high-end distributed home automation systems, right? So if you wanted home automation, there was no such thing as Sonos. Take a speaker, connect it to Wi-Fi, connect your cell phone, your iPhone. There was no such thing. So at the time I said, there's an opportunity for me to create a smart home technology company that is accessible by the community, low cost, very cool. So I put all these products together and I joined forces with this gentleman in Miami, Florida. I moved down to Miami and I met him through a friend of a friend. And he said, I have $100 million a year flooring company. And I know every single architect and designer in Miami. And I said, well, I have this idea for the smart home technology company that we can sell through these architects and designers in Miami. And he said, perfect, match made in heaven, move down to Miami. So I moved from Durango, Colorado, all the way to Miami. And I had no idea what I'm doing. I poured every dollar into this thing. And after, it was going really well for a while until it wasn't. And I think I just didn't have the infrastructure. All the technology was wireless. And so there was a lot of problems. And back in 2012,
Surely.
things didn't work with each other like they do today. Like I can buy a light bulb that connects to Alexa, and I can buy a Google Home and it connects, and all these things just work together, right? You don't have any pain. Back then, there was a lot of pain with these things working together, and that's what I was trying to solve. But after 2 years, man, I got to the point where I had to exit, and I lost everything. That the shift to saying I'm out, leaving it all on the table, knowing that I wasn't going to get any of that money back, and trying to figure out how to reinvent myself at that time and try to live off of the little bit of money that I had left to try to reinvent myself. I got to the point where I went completely broke. I mean, there was nothing left. So 10 years of savings down to zero. I got so stressed out. I had a baby on the way. My wife and I said, I said, I need a job, right? So badly, I need a job, so desperate. Nobody would hire me because people don't want to hire entrepreneurs. They don't understand it. They want to hire specialists. So they think that you're either going to take their trade secrets, or they think, well, I don't understand your generalist background. I don't know where to put you. Or the question would be, why do you want to work for me when you've been an entrepreneur? Why don't you just do something else? I'm like, but I'm desperate. Right. And that doesn't work well in the recruiting world, right?
No.
Desperation. Yeah, there's no leverage there. It's like, but I'm desperate. That doesn't work. Anyway,
Desperate professional, maybe.
Yeah, right.
Especially
right.
of desperation.
Yeah, especially of desperation. So anyway, I started working at Best Buy. I went to them one day and I said, look, I need a job. I've been in electronics world for a long time. I need a job. Would you be interested in hiring me? And they said, yes, $12 an hour. Right. So I go from this whole journey of this 13 years. Here I am, I'm about 30 years old and I'm working at Best Buy hourly, and I'm going, what on earth am I going to do with my life? Like, baby on the way, $12 an hour, no secondary degree, no further education outside of my college education, which was a no-name college, right? So I didn't have a network. I didn't have anybody to leverage. I grew up in Ohio, in a small town in Ohio, right? Like, it's not like I could pick up the phone to a buddy at Google and be like, yo, I need your help. There's nothing there, right? I'm starting at the absolute bottom. So, yeah, I mean, I said I had a hypothesis at the time. I said, okay, well, what could I do to make a ton of money and get back on my feet? That was it. That was the only concern. What can I do to make a ton of money and get back on my feet? And I said, okay, my hypothesis, I could probably work in tech. I think that I could make a ton of money in tech. That's what I hear. Boots on the street, right? So, but I didn't know anybody in tech, but I just thought that it was possible. So I said, okay, well, what do I need to do that? I'll go get an MBA. I didn't have the money for an MBA. I just took out student loans, right? 30 years amortized, a couple $100 a month. Okay, I'm going to check the box. So I do that. And I said, okay, what else could I do to get myself into tech? There was a software development boot camp that started in Denver called Galvanize. I said, okay. And they were like five classes deep. And they said, sure, we'll have you. And I hated the idea of doing software development. Hated it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Right. And I said, but this will help me, because I thought that the story of entrepreneur plus MBA plus software meant that I could pivot into tech somehow. And the story never made sense to recruiters with just an MBA. I needed to go the extra mile, because as soon as I went the extra mile and did the 6-month boot camp, and I led with the fact that I have tech knowledge, that's when the doors opened, and American Express said, we want to have you. And, you know, it was the Galvanize was the reason why I wound up getting that job. They hired me on as a senior product manager. I had never done product management before. I think the VP at that organization was like, look, this guy is different. I like that he's different. He's not corporate. He can think about things in a way that our entrenched longtime people at this organization don't think that way. And that's what we need, because he wanted to change the culture. And, you know, he gave me a shot, man. And that led me to 2 years later landing at Amazon, man. So it's insane. Yeah. I think every day, like, how the hell did I end up at this tech company? How the hell did I end up at this company that is growing and exploding during COVID-19? How is that possible? So I feel really grateful every day, man, you know, because there was a time where, like, things were not on the right path. I was not on the right journey. So.
Well, this is not a case. And even the fact that you say you're humble, then it is wonderful, because you work so hard for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And I heard I'm recently very much into gratitude, and I wanted to get into that because I'm hearing a lot of people, and everything that I'm reading is saying that gratitude is the secret for happiness, and it's not happiness that is bringing you to gratitude. No. So you got to be grateful for what you have, and so this is the only way that is going to make you happy. And I really, really, really love that. And your story is so inspiring, and I wanted so much to have you on this podcast, because it is a story that is, you fall and then you get up again. Yeah. You fall and then you get up again. Yeah. And this is how I feel and how I see life. Yeah. And it is just a wonderful story. You talk for an hour, and I think that people are like that on the screen, right? And it is a wonderful, wonderful story. And I thank you for telling this
Yeah, thanks,
in the
man.
podcast.
Appreciate it.
I got a couple of follow-up questions for that,
Yeah,
because
yeah, of course. I'm
I
all
do have
ears.
I got I do have I relate to your story so much through high school and through college.
Yeah.
I was not that good in high school. In college, yes, I got a 4.0 in
Yeah.
computer science because I didn't have a choice, because I'm
Yeah.
in America, and if I want to make it in tech,
Yeah.
I need to be the best because I'm an international student, right?
That's right.
But and so I understood that a little before, and I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm a true believer, though, that the education system is not right.
Yeah.
And the high school system, and especially in Italy, and the college system is not right. And if you want to learn, really, you got to learn by yourself.
Yeah.
And you got to do things by yourself, and you got
Yeah.
to focus on the learning. And this
totally
is a
agree, man.
journey.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
So my question, that is a very large.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'll dive into it.
My question is, you finished up high school,
Mhm.
and you said you couldn't wait to finish that.
Yeah.
Why the hell did you get into college then?
Yeah.
Why don't not starting before? Why did you get into college? Because for me, I finished up high school, and then I moved to the US with a soccer scholarship. So college for me was a way to play.
Right. Right.
But why did you did college and not starting something new from that yet?
Yeah, I grew up with a family who believed, and in a time in the, in 1999, right, in the early 2000s, the mentality of college across the United States and around the world was still ingrained in this idea that if I go, I'll have a better life. And so that was still in the back of my head. Like, if you don't finish college, you won't have opportunities. And I think the world has changed a lot. If I think about my son and what trajectory he could go, I don't think he'll need college. I don't even think he'll need high school, or for that matter, any institutional walls whatsoever. I hope that we can get to a point where there is zero institution, that the idea of education in general is merely just, I am interested in something, I'm going to learn it, and I will know in the back of my head that if I stay focused on this thing and I share my thoughts with the world on social media and I grow a network over time, I'm actually going to be very successful with it. I don't need any walls to tell me what I should and should not be, or what I should and should not study. It's a very different world today than it was when I was going to college, right? Because college meant opportunity. Now, I was going to a very small college, but it still meant opportunity, because at the end of the day, you still have an entire generation of people that are in the corporate world who believe that the piece of paper means you are educated. Doesn't mean you're smart. It just means that you checked some boxes. That's it. And for them, I understand. I get it. Because if you look at it through their lens, they are saying to themselves, how do I validate somebody's life education, what they can bring to the table based on a bunch of ambiguous bullet points on a resume? They can't. So the only lever that they have to pull to filter candidates is, what school did you go to? How good was the school? I don't know you, right? Like, I don't know what you bring to the table. So I'm going to use the proxy of how much you paid for school, which is absolutely ridiculous when you think about it. But we have no other mechanism in our society to validate someone's work history and what they can bring to the table and their network and the quality of that individual. As soon as we get to the point in society where there are third-party mechanisms that are respected in the industry which validate you, outside of just a traditional education, a logo of a school or how much you paid for school, then everything is going to change, right? It's like USDA prime choice beef certification on a pack of meat, or US or certified organic, right? It's a logo that somebody trusts that is a body of validation. As soon as that happens in the education world, I think things are going to change. And I think that when my son gets to that type of age, I don't even care if he goes to college, right? I'm going to just show him the tools that I use that have grown my network and that have allowed me to be successful. I mean, for God's sake, my kid could start at 12 years old a podcast about friggin' toys, for God's sake. Okay. And if he did that shit for 10 years, he's going to have the biggest damn YouTube channel on toys ever because he spent 10 years on it. He's going to be the authoritative body on toys, right? Or if my kid, and that's what's so crazy to me, because here we are, my son is being homeschooled by my wife. Now, it's not like we made a conscious choice a couple years ago to say, we're going to homeschool our kid. In Seattle, he was going to a school. We just so happened to move to Denver. We put him into a school in first grade halfway through the year, and yet he wasn't feeling it. And of course he wasn't feeling it, because here these other kids have been with each other since kindergarten and first grade, and he's the new guy. So he felt like I did when I was going to school. Like, people are like, who is this kid? Whatever. So he's like, I'd love to try homeschooling. We do homeschooling. He's being homeschooled for 2 hours a day, not 8 hours a day. So A, he's learning efficiency. B, he's learning how to be interested in something. And then if he wants to spend 4 hours on it, he can. If he doesn't have to. The rest of the day is his to play and explore. He got into skateboarding. He became really damn good at skateboarding. And it's funny that skateboarding alone, if he did nothing else in life, nothing in school for 20 years, and all he did was focus on skateboarding or ancillary things related to skateboarding, he would be extremely successful. And he would be successful because he would learn that failure is the path to success. School doesn't teach you that. He would learn that I have to fall 5 million times and hurt myself over and over and over again to excel at skateboarding. That's how I become good. School teaches you that failure is bad. So it's a very different mentality. This school is so messed up, man. And what's funny too? It's like some people look at the job that I have and they go, oh man, John is this, product manager at Amazon. He's at this top tech company and everything. And, like, what path do I need to take? Right? You must need to go to a prestigious high school and be groomed and then get into a prestigious college and have all the right grades, and you need the network and all these extracurriculars and all these things. And then, all of that massive journey of 20 years is going to prepare you for that job. Actually, it doesn't prepare you for the job at all, right? As soon as I started at the company, I had literally no idea what they were doing. No idea. New team, new people, new culture, new systems, new processes, new everything. Directors, personalities. Look, I mean, I'm like, you could literally take me and replace me with any other person on the street. I could pluck somebody out of the grocery store and say, you know what? You're going to do my job. And they would go, oh, but I don't have the skills or the background or the blah, 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 blah that I need for the job. And it's like, you could learn the skills in 6 months. You learn all the right things to say, the reporting strategies and mechanisms. You learn how to write the right way. Boom, done. So anyone can do my job, right? There's this massive myth in society that I need to take all these steps to be educated so that I can be prepared for this job, which is total bullshit, actually.
And now we're breaking the wall.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And I love that so much. And sometimes you need that certification in order to show society to be accepted, as you say.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is a smart move, and that's why I wanted to do that, right?
Of course, that's what it's for. That's what it's for.
Exactly. You need a certification, and you
Yeah.
need to, if you need something, you need to show that. I truly love the people that have the guts to not go to those institutions and not to have a brand, and to go with the head high, and not to be crushed by everything that society is telling you. And that is crazy. So I really love, and I support, for how much I can do, the homeschooling of your kid. I think you're doing all the right things, and I really want to see how your kid turns out in 10, 20 years. Is going to be ready to change the world. And I would have loved to have a father like you teach me 2 hours a day and then go skateboarding, man.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Yes, bro.
Skateboarding, man. Go skateboarding, go mountain biking, whatever. Like, do whatever you want to do, man. Do whatever.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, and so since I don't want to steal too much of your time, and I have so many questions.
Yeah, no problem. Let me make sure. I gotta plug my computer in. My computer's gonna die. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
All right. I'm ready. Go ahead.
So my question could be now, and because I saw one of your video, I saw many of them. The last video, and the thing that I love most, and what I think people care right now, is what are the suggestions you would give to somebody that is about to graduate, okay? Or graduating soon? What suggestion would you give, and what would you want to focus on in order to and if you think like that, to avoid the failure that you had, and you learned it the hard way, right? What would you say to them? Give me 5 tips. I don't know, whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the idea of failure in general is not it's not understood in a college environment. So we think that we can't fail, we can't show failure, we can't show weakness, we can't be vulnerable at all when you kind of get into a corporate setting. And I think all of those things are what actually will make you successful, right? Like the failure is the path to perspective. And that perspective is going to lead you to the right questions. And those questions are going to lead you to finding more meaning in your life. So I think that, if you're graduating from college, I think for me, there's this recognition that there's a game being played in society. There's a game. I look at it as a game, and many people get pissed off at me because I say it's a game, or because they take it very seriously. And I look at the entire journey in corporate America, like, yes, you have to work hard in life, no doubt, right? But it is a game that you can play, and you shouldn't take it seriously in aggregate, right? Like at the end of the day, yeah, there are problems at work and everybody's got to deal with crap, but like I end my day and I don't bring work home. Like I don't think about it at all as soon as the day is over. But the game being played is to maximize your earnings and make a ton of money, right? The problem we have in society, and this is really the foundation for Project 1B, because Project 1B, the foundation that we have is that if I make a ton of money, I'm gonna be happy, because happiness in our society has a direct but false correlation to the size of my bank account. And the amount of self-worth that you attain, right? The reason why people buy luxury goods, the reason why I bought a $7,500 watch when I was in my mid-20s was because I wanted to feel validated. I wanted to feel a sense of self-worth. So what we wind up doing is we say, okay, we don't look at it as a game. We look at it as it is the path to happiness, right? And that's false. I look at it as a game because I say, look, in life, you need to make money so that you can have leverage, so that you can build opportunities for yourself, not for happiness. It is a totally different and separate thing, right? Because we believe that happiness is a destination that can only be filled by a bank account size. And if I don't have those things, I'm not going to have self-worth. I'm not going to be loved by society. And as soon as you recognize how silly and how stupid it is to realize that the reason why we want to buy luxury goods, the reason why we want a Mercedes or a BMW or a Ferrari or whatever, is to prove our worth in society. And why do we prove our worth in society? Because we want to feel loved, right? We want adoration. And it doesn't make any sense. And so my failure led me to the perspective that happiness wasn't a destination. It led me to this mental model of like, I don't need validation of things that I own to feel happier or feel a sense of self-worth. I merely recognize the game that's being played, and I'm playing the strategy to make as much money as possible so that I can be free, so I can find freedom, true freedom. Like, I don't want to wake up and say, I have to go to work. I want to wake up and say, what do I feel inspired to do today? And that's the foundation of Project 1B. It's like, what do I feel inspired to do today? The reason why I started Project 1B is because I feel inspired to start that, right? Like, I don't feel inspired necessarily to work in tech. People are always like, oh, well, that's my dream job. It's like, dude, it's your dream job because you associate it to happiness. You're not going to find happiness if you just work in tech. Dude, it's corporate America, right? You're going to deal with the same shit that you deal with at every single company. It's the same stuff. I do it for freedom. So, you know, and like, I'll caveat that by saying I'm strategic, but I'm also strategic when it comes to finding the right team and recognizing where I want to be and how I want to fit into the corporate structure. I'm very fortunate to be on a team that is awesome with great people. It hasn't always been that way for me. You know, I joined this team about a year ago, and this team is incredible. So I feel super thankful. You know, I made the right moves, but yeah, but I don't work in corporate America to stay in corporate America. Or I don't work in corporate America for this false idea that just working at a company like Amazon is going to make me happy. No, that happiness has to start from the time you're working at Best Buy for $12 an hour. You have to be coming home at work and saying, I helped people today, right? It starts with what you said earlier. It starts from a foundation of gratitude. I'm grateful for the fact that I even have a job at $12 an hour. I'm grateful for the fact that I even have a roof over my head, or I even have a refrigerator or clean water or electricity. It's this kind of baseline of gratitude that is not, I have a high paying job. It is a baseline of gratitude to say, I'm alive, literally. That's it. So anyway, man, you know, like when that's a lot to unpack when you think about a college student getting into it, but the foundation of that is happiness is not attached to money. It is merely leverage for yourself that you can play the corporate game in. So don't take it too seriously. Work hard, save your money with the mental model that you're trying to find a sense of freedom. And on the side, do something that actually inspires you every night. Post content on LinkedIn. Use the social media platforms that we have, like Facebook, like YouTube. Leverage the shit out of them to spread whatever message that makes you feel alive, and do that until your paths converge, right? Play two strategies. Play multiple strategies, for God's sake.
Yeah. But you gotta sometimes, and that's life.
That's life.
That is life lesson. It's not college lesson. It's life lesson. You gotta understand that. And the earlier you understand that, and so, the earlier you understand that, the better, the happier you're going to be, and the better you're gonna feel. Yeah. But you gotta learn how to play the game. Yeah. And this is what I'm trying to do, right? Learn how to play the game. As you said, I totally agree with you. I think it is a game, and you gotta learn to do that. So, on a closing note.
Oh, and I have more time, man. I got some more time.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I'm good until like, probably good for like 20 minutes. Yeah, 15, 20 minutes.
I got it. Okay. Yeah. So and this is that's it, right? Like I truly understand it with you, and I truly understand, and I truly believe in the message, in that message. And that's what I'm saying when somebody asks me, what do you want to be in life? And many people say, I want to be a product manager at Google, and I want to be a product manager at Apple. Yes, okay.
Sure.
No, I want to be a person, and I want to understand myself as a person.
Yeah.
And then I want to work in order to give something to society, to give back.
Yeah.
And that's the game you got to play. So in order, after all this, and I like to give like very long questions.
I love it.
But a couple of tips and tricks or strategies that you learned in order to play the game. What strategy? So I was stunned from one of your posts a couple of, I think a week ago, a couple more. You were saying a suggestion of myself in the 20s, build your personal finance, get your MBA out of your undergrad because of corporate game, and then save money, live simply, save money. You're going to be a billionaire by 35. And I was inspired by that. Can you give me some strategies and tips and tricks that students can use now in order to get in to play the game better?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think the best strategy is trying to say something, okay, I want to take something 5 years out. I want to look 5 years ahead and imagine where I want to be 5 years from now. And what we do at Amazon is we typically refer to these things as work back plans. And what's interesting, what I've learned at Amazon is really interesting. We create these things called PR FAQs. They're press releases. So PR, press release. FAQ is FAQ questions. And so what we do is we create these work back plans that are referred to as PR FAQs. And we say, from a business perspective, where do we want to go 3 years from now? And what we do is we write one page, which is a press release, which is dated 3 years in the future. And we write, now, I mean, this is, keep in mind, this is from a customer perspective and where we want this business to go, but the parallels can be drawn in our life. So we take a lot of time to craft a one-page document that paints a vision of that point in time, 3 or more years in the ahead, where a press company picked up and wrote about what we launched 3 years from now. And you use that same mental model in life, and you say, what is my press release? Right? If a company, if Forbes or Inc. were to write about me 3 years from now, what are they going to say? Literally start writing that down. And it feels uncomfortable. It's not natural. When we write papers in college, it's very academic. But when you think about like, well, where do I want to go? We have to do some deep thinking about that. And you may not know yet the answer to those questions. It takes a long time to figure those out. But what you can do is you scour LinkedIn and you go, who on LinkedIn do I admire? And you don't go into it with like rose-colored glasses, right? You don't go into it and you say like these false ideas of like how glamorous it could be. Because like everything that you're passionate about, or even something that you're not passionate about, they're all going to have things that you don't like doing. So even the best, most glamorous thing in the world you could conjure up in your head is not really going to be glamorous at the end of the day. Entrepreneurship is a prime example of that. I had that in my head. Glamour, freedom, bullshit. Not at all, right? So if you go in with the right mental model and you say, okay, I'm grounded in reality. This person probably went through a lot of struggles, but they seem to be who I want to be in the future, right? Okay, great. A handful of people. What did they do to get where they're at? Did they write a book? Great, I'm going to read their book. Did they write a lot of posts on LinkedIn? Great, I'm going to consume their content. Can I call them? Are they accessible? Maybe. Great, you reached out to me, right? We connected. So a lot of people are interested in connecting. Connect with them, find out what's their story, what's their background, do you relate? Great, write it down. What are some FAQ questions that you want to ask yourself, right? Like, how much money should I be making in this job, right? Well, I hypothesize that I'm going to be making $200,000 a year, blah, 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 by taking X steps. Well, what's your roadmap? How are you going to get there? What's the very first step that you're going to take to get there? Well, it appears that John got his MBA. Interestingly, he didn't get his MBA from a top school. Good data point. Maybe I don't need to go to a top school. But this other person did, and they're at Google. Maybe I need to. What other boxes did they check? Did they do any clubs? Do they have a unique background? Are they a cyclist? Are they a podcaster? Are they what made them unique? And you just start creating a plan. All I did is I had a hypothesis back in the day, and I said, okay, I think I can make a ton of money in tech. How do I do it? That's exactly what I did. I went on LinkedIn and I started creating a work back plan. I started creating a vision for where do I want to be and how can I get there? What is my roadmap? I started sketching out, okay, my roadmap is step 1, go get your MBA because it appears I need to check your box. Step 2, go get the tech software development background. Great, did that. Step 3, craft my resume in a way that showcases me positioned as a product manager. Great. Start creating that product manager narrative, right? Got it. Now I'm in a big corporation. Okay, I'm in a Fortune 100 company. Perfect. Now I have the leverage to think, how do I get into a Fortune 1 or Fortune 5, right? So what do I need to do? I need to gain visibility. Awesome. I'm going to create a stellar LinkedIn profile. I'm going to make sure that my title is keyword optimized. I'm going to play the game. I'm going to make sure that I have an all-star LinkedIn profile status. And that's a real thing on LinkedIn. You have a beginner, intermediate, advanced, and you get all the way up to this all-star level. And the way you know if you're an all-star profile is you just log in and it'll tell you what elements you need to be an all-star. And it's simple stuff. It's nothing crazy. It's like you need 50 connections. You need a profile photo. You need a headline. You need an about section. You need to have some education entered in the education section. Just fill out your profile, man. That's it, right? And it's all algorithmic. So LinkedIn is algorithmic, right? LinkedIn is the world's biggest search engine for recruiters. So I'm thinking, great, how do I get exposure? Well, it's keyword driven. It's the biggest search engine for recruiters in the world. I need to make sure my profile is optimized for what I want, who I want to portray myself to be online. And because I did all those steps, Amazon called me, right? I didn't have to do any legwork. I portrayed myself as a scarce resource that they needed to have. And they called me and said, we need to have you. And I said, great. How much are you going to pay me?
I love
right?
it.
Bottom line, how much are you going to pay me? Great. Yeah, your offer is pretty good. It was excellent, by the way. Your offer is pretty good. That's not going to cut it for me. That's not going to cut it. Let's up the salary 20%. Let's up our stock by 20%. And I might consider. And they would say to me well, if we do that, would you sign today? Send it to me. I'll think about it.
Love it.
Right?
That's a strategy.
You create your own leverage, man. You create your own leverage. You never showcase yourself as desperate. You showcase yourself as here's what I can deliver. Here's the value I deliver. Here's why. You have a really tight narrative of why. You know how to communicate it succinctly in 30 seconds. So you grab somebody's attention. You are a marketing agency of one.
You're a good product.
You're a good product. As soon as you recognize that this is my worth, this is how I present my value, then LinkedIn does it for you, man.
Yeah, that everything that I have done, and that I have done nothing, right? But everything that I was able to do, and the little things that I was able to do, reaching out to you for me is a huge success, and being able to have this conversation is a huge success. Yeah, it is true for a college student that has nothing, right? Achieved only a bachelor, and but this is nothing, right? And being able to talk with people like you that are truly successful, but I'm not meaning by the corporate life, right?
Yeah, not by the corporate
success.
Right. The mental success.
The kind of the way of living that you achieved and the kind of mental state that you're in, for me, is successful. And that is what I consider successful, not the senior vice president of the Goldman Sachs. Don't give a shit.
No.
But
I love that you brought that up though, man. That's the key takeaway, right? Because it's not success from a financial standpoint, it's success from a mental standpoint.
Yeah. for me, that's how I define success. There are a lot of definitions of success, but my success right now is somebody that figured out who they are.
Yeah.
And this is great. And for me, you are like that. And so everything that I have done through LinkedIn, and LinkedIn helped me a lot because that is a community that really help you in doing that, is supportive of you. And
I agree.
Learn how to use it. The only suggestion that I have for
that's right.
Learn how to use LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's such a great. I mean, the opportunity that you have at your fingertips, are the network that you have access to is far greater than anything that any college could ever try to sell you on. You know, any college.
All the colleges in there.
Yeah, you got every individual from every college. And you know what's so funny too, man? I would have never gotten into Columbia University, or I would have never gotten into Stanford or any of these schools. And what's so ironic at this point is I have administrators from these schools reaching out to me.
That's cool,
asking me to speak at their schools. You know,
how
ironic, right? Like I basically would have never gotten through the door. And that's another reason why I think it's so, that you don't have to wait for anyone's permission. Like students believe that they have to get, permission. They have to start at the bottom. They have to pay their dues. And yes, you have to pay your dues in anything that you're doing, but you don't have to follow a hierarchy set forth in a company, right? Like, it's funny that I've grown a LinkedIn following that is more powerful than a VP or senior VP at Amazon has, right? Like my voice and my platform is worldwide. And yet you look at somebody like that and their voice and their platform extends to 50 people in an organization. You realize the power, the difference. I get paid far less in the organization, but yet I have far more leverage and far more power and far more opportunities coming to me every day than that individual is ever going to have coming to them. Right?
Amen.
So, right. It's interesting, man.
Yeah, and I truly believe that, and the power of interconnectivity and how to use it and how to be able to leverage those resources. Totally. So I want to save, I would love to have a second round, maybe. Yeah, I do have so many questions, so I do show you just the show notes to everybody.
Love your hats, he says.
and everything there. Do you have any parting thoughts for the audience?
Man,
I love your hats, bro. I just wanted to start with that.
Love that. I love that. Yeah. Man, I mean, I think the parting words are you really have to zoom out from the way everyone is thinking. And you have to start asking yourself different questions about where you're going in your life and why, because the right questions lead you to the right answers. And I don't think most people are asking themselves the right question. And I want people ultimately to start chasing a different word. And I want them to start chasing the word meaning instead of the word happiness. Because there's a correlation of the word happiness in our society, which is only tied to money, right? And self-worth. And that's not going to get you there. But if you start saying, I want to find meaning, right? Because ultimately we believe that happiness is going to give us meaning. It's kind of that soft correlation, right? Like happiness, money, meaning, but not really. That's not the case, right? So you X that out and you go, well, I've been chasing the wrong questions. Well, the right questions are chased from asking the question, well, how do I maximize my sense of meaning in life? Well, that's different. Because if I chase that word, then I'm going to have different answers, right? But also recognizing that you're playing a game. Like in society, you're playing the game, right? So don't attach the word happiness to the money. It's just leverage. It's just playing the game.
Figure that out, and then figure out the game, and
Yeah.
then play
Yeah.
via your advantage.
Yeah. Yeah. Use that to your advantage, but chase, if you can't chase the meaning from from a corporate perspective, then do something on the side that is going to give you that deep sense of it, and go all in on that and find a way to make those paths converge.
Well, I love that. And I think this is the perfect note to close up the first round. And let's see if we can have a second round, maybe going into practical, learn how to play the game. I would love that. It's a note for practical tips and tricks. But thank you very much, Sean. It was a wonderful conversation, and I'll see you in the next episode then.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for having me, man. Take care.